What's up, guys? How's it going? Wednesday Linc at the usual time. Look at that. It's been a while since
that?
we've recorded on a 7:30-ish Eastern time zone. But what's up, Thomas? How we doing?
I'm doing well. Been a while since we did just you and I on a show here, which is pretty fun. And we actually have a little bit of news to talk about here on a middle of June, I guess you could say Eagles live show, because normally we'd be talking OTAs, little mini camp, and yet Jaire Alexander is not an Eagle. I'm sure we have thoughts on that. We'll come up in just a second. But first off, everyone in the chat, welcome. Hope you guys are having a good Wednesday evening. And knowing that we are about exactly 5 weeks, not exactly, 5 weeks in like 3 days. Or no, sorry, that's not right. We're 4 weeks and a couple of days from day one of training camp, because it's July 22nd and it's June 18th. So we're getting there. Very close.
Cannot wait. Over under, I'm going to take a shot early. Over under, Shedeur Sanders is going to be there in attendance August 13th for the Browns joint practice. We think that's going to happen? Will he still be on the Browns team? Is he speeding out of...
Oh, yeah.
I saw comments before this. He's speeding out of Cleveland. He can't wait.
80% completion percentage at minicamp is the report. He's tearing it up.
But he's also getting caught for driving over 100 miles an hour. He's, what's up with this stuff?
Today.
What are we doing?
I don't know what we're doing. 101 and a 60, I think is what it was today. So
he's moving. I think it was a $250 fine, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, this is obviously an Eagles show, so I should not go there. But I just thought it was hilarious. I'm like, really? He's got a custom car that's delivered to him at camp. He's, getting caught for driving over 100 miles an hour. So, but on the field, yeah, he's been great.
There you go.
Good news, though. Like you said, there's been a decent amount of takeaways from OTAs. We've talked about in videos. Other guys on the market, maybe not on the market anymore. So where should we start? Should we go to, I know I saw comments before this, but Jaire Alexander, should we go there?
I think
should
so.
we talk about,
I think so.
Okay, that works for me. I think most people are up to date on it, but if not, Jaire Alexander is officially signed with the Baltimore Ravens, and it's incredibly cheap.
Very cheap. Yeah, that's the big takeaway. It's like $4 million with incentives up to $6 million, and you get additional $500,000 bonuses here and there for good behavior, essentially, a good play. Surprising. Now, I think he clearly has connections to the Baltimore Ravens, a couple of coaches on that roster, obviously a fan of Lamar Jackson, a friend of Lamar Jackson. This was a move for him, I think, to play in big games, to go where clearly he was wanted because they wanted some DB help, and he had the ties that Jeremy Fowler talked about on the Fanatic last week that he wanted to go ahead and have. What's surprising here, Josh, is how cheap it is to the thought that if Philadelphia really thought they needed an upgrade over Kelee Ringo, they would have made the deal. They could have offered him $10 million, nearly double what the Baltimore Ravens did pre-incentives, and they chose not to. And so I think the simple answer right now is that either, A, Jaire said, no, I have no interest in coming to Philadelphia, and he's like, okay, well, whatever, and they tried, which we'll never know. Or the likely answer is B, which is they like Kelee Ringo, and all the insiders have been saying all offseason long, they think the upside of Kelee Ringo is enough to gamble. And I don't know if it's a gamble because he's been there in house long enough. They clearly know what they have. But this was your probably last chance to go ahead and upgrade the cornerback spot one final time with, when healthy and all pro, 28 years old, still young, they chose not to. And if you're Kelee Ringo, you've probably known this all along. They weren't actually targeting Alexander. But if you didn't, pretty good thumbs up there for both, obviously, Kelee Ringo, and the same for Adoree Jackson, because reports that they like him too. So I'm just surprised how cheap it was, because if it would have been a one-year, $15 million a year deal, Howie's been cheap this offseason, a lot of one-year, much cheaper than $15 million contracts he signed, and so would have said, they couldn't afford him. They could have afforded him if they wanted him. Clearly, they didn't want him, and here we are.
They made their decision, whether we like it or not. And like you said, they may have made an offer. It's just they didn't make it strong enough for him to accept it. But report of him turning down a little bit more money. But here's one thing. I love this because, and I don't think that the majority goes to this, but if you're on social media, which is not the real life, we understand that. It's not real life. But the takeaway sometimes is like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. He turned down more money. He turned down $4 million. No one's saying how much money he turned down. They're saying he turned down more money. That could have been $6 million versus $6.5 million. Now, I'm not saying, no one's saying 500,000 is not a difference of money there. But as you mentioned, Thomas, earlier on, if he's getting a top opportunity, depending on who the team is, but the opportunity to play for, let's say, the Ravens like he chose, or Carolina Panthers, or just name your team, right? Just a bottom tier team, you get an opportunity to go pursue and win a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson, as you also said, a friend, played at the same college, a university, was hyped when they both got drafted. So there's tons of connections that make sense. We may know eventually. It would be cool if we did, but I just want to like kind of temper a little bit of the frustration, people being upset, because I've gotten tons of DMs. I'm sure you have as well. It doesn't mean, if you were wanting Jaire, it doesn't mean that the Eagles did not make an offer. They may have, like Howie may have come to the table. He just wasn't willing to go to whatever point it would have to tip the scales, but it may have actually been a tiny bit better or more than Baltimore, and he just chose to go play with a really good friend and have the connections that he does with Baltimore. So we'll see.
Well, you can swing it the other way, too, is that they just think Kelee Ringo is going to be the breakout star of the 2024 season.
Absolutely.
I mean, how many times last year, post going ahead and giving Devin White, were we like, well, there's another linebacker out there, maybe we should go ahead and make a call and just make sure that the position group is as loaded as possible, when the entire time behind the scenes, Vic Fangio was like, guys, I have found the linebacker, and I got him for absolutely pennies on the dollar. And I trust Vic Fangio because he just won a Super Bowl. He's one of the great defensive coordinators in the league right now. And if Vic Fangio thought that his defense needed Jaire Alexander, he could have gotten Howie Roseman to offer $3, $4, $5 more million. We talked about the fact they have almost $30 million in cap space right now. Whether they want to roll it over into next year, obviously for Jalen Carter or not, they could have made an offer that really Alexander could not have refused. Because Philadelphia, I mean, let's just be clear, they are the Baltimore Ravens of the NFC, or the Ravens are the Eagles of the AFC. Those are the two premier franchises right now, the two premier rosters right now, and you can argue the two premier quarterbacks right now, along with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. He could have gone to another contender, us, over in Philadelphia. He obviously chose not to, but I think Philly said, you know, Kelee Ringo is going to be good this year, guys. Trust us, wait and see. Or they love Adoree Jackson, which could still possibly be who knows? That's going to be an open battle during training camp. But maybe. I take this as all of us who are saying that the weak link of the Philadelphia Eagles right now is the cornerback spot. This is your option, or this is your chance to be like, maybe it's not. Let's see what happens.
I think they're confident in it, as you say, and Kelee Ringo there. I also get the point of some. There's multiple levels to this, because there's some people who are like, oh, we had to have Jaire Alexander. There's some people that are like, oh, it would have been nice, but didn't have to. We're just kind of a little upgrade there. And then others that were not for it. Totally fine, because he's played, 14 games in the last 2 seasons, can't stay healthy. If he is healthy, he could be good, but that's a big if. But here's the problem, though. If the Eagles, and it very much looked this way, but if the Eagles believe in Kelee Ringo, it doesn't help to offset it and go, well, we could have gotten Jaire Alexander for really cheap. We understand if you make the decision to say, oh, we're going to play Jaire Alexander, and he gets the start, let's say that he were to win out, all hypotheticals here, but he were to win out and play the first 3, 4, 5 games, that also means he takes the reps in training camp. That also means that he takes the reps during the regular season. So to then all of a sudden go, well, we didn't trust Kelee Ringo enough to give him those first-team reps, or a lot of the first-team reps, and to start him, but now all of a sudden Jaire Alexander is injured and we have to, it's a totally different predicament. So I agree with the statement of they had to have believed in Kelee Ringo. It's been the same or very similar for almost every Philly dog. I mean, outside of Jalen Carter, if you look at it, it's been Jordan Davis, doubted. He's started to come around now. He's get the extension of the offer. Same thing with Nolan Smith, doubted early on. Now he's started to come on, franchise leader in a single postseason. Nakobe Dean, doubted. Nobody thought that he was going to turn into, plays incredibly well next to Zach Bond. Now injury, obviously, hopefully come back from that. But it's been every single player of those Philly dogs. We just haven't gotten the opportunity. So much like those guys before, we're going, we haven't seen anything. We haven't seen enough yet. We don't know. We really don't know until Kelee Ringo gets the spot start. And with Christian Parker, I mean, he's proven it so far from what we've seen. So I'm optimistic. I think that, like I said, I think the majority is on that side of Kelee Ringo, but I have seen several instances of, oh, you got to be kidding me. We could have had him for that cheap. It's a terrible move. Howie missed. Bad miss by Howie. We'll see. He's proven that he knows what he's doing most of the time.
I was about to say, right, we talk about benefit of the doubt, right? Howie Roseman has deservedly earned the benefit of the doubt. And I do think that we're in, you got to take a step back and realize what kind of era we're in Philadelphia, that we are clearly in the golden age of the Philadelphia Eagles, because 10 years ago, right, maybe even 5 years ago, you go back to those 2020 teams and you go back to the 2016 team, this entire defense would have a couple of good players, right? You have a Fletcher Cox somewhere, you have a Brandon Graham somewhere, but then you'd have tons of holes. Or you'd have one good player at a position. Like, you'd have one good cornerback. And then if Jalen Mills got hurt, it was, oh my goodness, we have nobody behind him. Howie Roseman the past couple of seasons has completely just flipped on this whole idea of investing, heavily in one little area and then moving around here. He has depth. Adoree Jackson was signed just in case Kelee Ringo didn't work out. Go to the safety spot. The other place where it's like, well, maybe now we get Justin Simmons. They drafted a safety. They have Sidney Brown, who they drafted a couple of years ago, who they're excited about. And they also have a couple of other guys behind him, a Tristan McCullum, who they believe potentially, if need be, could slide in there. And so I think back to whenever Philadelphia was kind of a 7-9 kind of franchise, and they're kind of maybe a wild card franchise. There would always be off seasons just like this where they would miss on a player, and we would go, oh my gosh, we either don't have the talent at that position, or we have one guy, and if he gets hurt, it's over. Howie has done the complete opposite the past couple of seasons, to where even if you were to lose, an A.J. Brown, heaven forbid, knock on wood, he traded a third for Jihaad to make sure that he has the backup players. And all reports on top of Kelee Ringo being impressive so far, Josh, Adoree Jackson has held his own. And I think we're kind of selling Adoree Jackson short. We're selling, A.J. Dillon short, which I want to talk about during tonight's live stream. We're selling Josh Uche short, who obviously Lane Johnson was first name out of his mouth during minicamp as an impressive guy. These are all players who, at some point throughout their career, have been very impressive, have had injuries or bad franchises that brought them to Philadelphia on one-year cheap prove-it contracts, and these guys can all still play. And so, I love the idea of Alexander. I think we need to at least mention the idea of Jalen Ramsey. I think is completely gone now because how expensive he is. You got to trade for him, figure out his contract. If they really wanted a cornerback, Alexander for $7 million on a one-year deal would have been their option. They chose not to, and they deserve the benefit of the doubt.
100%. Howie's proven it. We've seen the guys. We've seen guys live up to expectations, and absolutely. I mean, some people call it. We're not afraid to admit when we've been wrong too. So much like everybody else, everybody's, including Howie. So we could also say that as well. Like, he gets the benefit of the doubt, but he has been wrong. So even if he is, but he's got other outs. Like you even said, there was some depth pieces. Vic Fangio has made it work for a lot of different guys in a lot of different areas. And we didn't. The majority, I think, was not really believing. If there were out there, I know there were a decent amount, but the majority, I don't think, were believing in Nakobe Dean in the linebacker positions entirely. We're going into it being like, well, okay, Zach Bond sounds like he's going to be the starter. I mean, I trust Vic Fangio, but I don't know about this guy here who's never done it before. We're just going to make him the off-ball linebacker, but look how that turned out. So you get an all-pro. Now, who knows if Kelee Ringo does play and turn into an all-pro, but A.J. Brown did say that he's got the potential. He said it multiple times. So, I mean, best receiver in football is saying that. Best one-on-one guy. All right, that's enough for me. I was going to mention real quick, IBH, a couple super chats here. IBH with the member for 6 months says, I think they definitely want to give Ringo a shot. Believe so, for sure. And then also Franklin, let me try to get that on the screen for you also. Franklin with a 2 says, go Birds, trust Fangio if he believes in Ringo.
I agree. We also got Nathan. Nate's in the chat with his 2. He says, who needs him? I want to see Ringo anyway, with a $2 super chat. And I think most of us do. And listen, Josh, the whole Kelee Ringo story is so fascinating because he came out a year too early. That was the whole thing. It was like, you know what? Size, speed. I mean, this guy is like the prototypical build for a cornerback, and he's extremely fast in a straight line. His hips and the fact he was a baby when he came out of the NFL draft, not a lot of experience, is why he fell to, was the 5th round a couple of years ago. Had he stayed one more year and then really proven himself at Georgia, first-round talent. I mean, truly, he would have been a first-round talent. So he comes to Philadelphia, and he's talked about this during his, I think his OTA press conference. Came to Philly, didn't know what he didn't know, and he's had to kind of put his head down and grind just to kind of get that senior season, essentially, that he would have had at UGA at Philly. Well, now it's been 3 seasons, Josh. He's been underneath Darius Slay and watched Quinyon Mitchell go from Toledo to top corner in the National Football League. Cooper DeJean is wowing him. Talked about that during OTAs. If there was ever a chance or ever a time for him to prove himself and be like, you know what? I do have the size and the speed and the ball skills and everything you want in a cornerback to be elite in the National Football League, or a serviceable starter. That's fine too. We can have those in Philadelphia. I know most people are elite players, but a serviceable starter still works these days. Then now's the time. And if he can't do it, then they'll throw Adoree Jackson in there. And if he can't do it, the trade deadline with 13 draft picks next year and $30 million in cap space, they could make a move at Week 8's trade deadline and go ahead and patch a hole if, heaven forbid, Ringo and Adoree Jackson were to go ahead and crash out.
Yep. Multiple years, Kelee Ringo getting adjusted, getting used to the NFL game, the speed,
Yep.
and yet still, like you said, he came at a very, very young age. He's 22 years old. Quinyon Mitchell is 23. Andrew Mukuba, a rookie this year, is 22. Like, he's the same age as Kelee Ringo. So, I mean, he, like you're talking about, now the contract-wise, okay, that's a different story. But just age factor, like, you got a guy who would be like the average age probably, or maybe even younger than some of the prospects that are coming out or did come out in this year's draft. So, I mean, they've had him around for a while. He's had the physical tools. We've started to see, I think, glimpses of that confidence and everything else.
Yeah.
And, you know, let's call it what it is too. The Eagles chose to, Howie Roseman chose to move on from Darius Slay for a reason. I mean, they also had that opportunity. We can't forget that as well. I mean, it's like, hey, look, if you wanted Jaire Alexander, if we wanted that, if we wanted these other options of guys that have been out there, there's also Darius Slay. And, you know, whatever you want to say about him, he was able to stay out there on the field more than Alexander was. Yeah. So to move on early by that point, I think it already told you, okay, they're leaning towards Kelee Ringo. And this is like the ultimate of, okay, they also didn't decide to make that move. Keelee's the guy. They're going to live and die by that. Now, yes, Adoree Jackson could be, but I think that, you know, the general consensus also would be like, okay, he's the veteran to be there in the room if you need him. But ultimately, it's like, hey, future-wise, we really want Kelee to be the guy.
Well, I mean, just on top of Darius Slay, right? $10 million 1 year. They said no. 34 years old. That was a big factor in it. We both love Isaiah Rodgers. Talk about friend of the channel, been on your show multiple times. Isaiah Rodgers was like $7 million. I mean, he was barely more than Jaire Alexander when, you know, side by side, both healthy. Most people would take Alexander. And Philly said no. And there were plenty of people in the Eagles organization who loved, like, really liked Isaiah Rodgers, and they did not go ahead and re-sign him. So
would have loved to have him
if they ever
back.
had a chance, I would have loved to have him back too. He looks good in that Viking uniform with the what's it called, visor. It looks good. Not gonna lie, it looks good.
Isaiah Rodgers and helmets. He's just got that going. He had the white Eagles helmet. He's at the blackout with the Vikings and the visor and all. Yeah, he's got it rolling. Which I think he's going to be at Smitty's softball.
I think he will be. We're going to talk about that later tonight after the show, but we'll talk about that. Remind me to mention that. Quickly here. I saw Asante Samuel Jr.'s name. CEA says he's unsigned, younger, should be affordable. I did a breakdown on this a couple of days ago, but essentially the Asante Samuel Jr. problem is he had neck surgery in the offseason, basically caused him to miss games last year. He's going to be cleared hopefully in July. It feels like NFL teams are waiting for the doctor in July to go, let's look at the neck. Neck is 100%. Then he's going to go sign probably right before the start of training camp. And so that's why he remains unsigned, because he also is very young. 6 picks early on in his career. Like, Asante Samuel Jr. is a baller. He only is a free agent because of the neck. And the neck is obviously a big deal overall, especially in tackling a defensive player. So if they preferred the younger Asante Samuel Jr. and want to have Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Asante Samuel Jr., it'd be kind of fun, then you would potentially see it happening somewhere in July before training camp. My guess is still, like everything we just said, they like Ringo. If they want somebody else, that is probably your last hope, because the whole Jalen Ramsey thing, Josh, you got to give up draft picks and you got to find a way to restructure his contract and hope Miami eats like $17 million. It's just too much. I've talked about him a lot on my show. I just don't think Philadelphia is going to bite off too much in terms of Jalen Ramsey. So Ringo, Asante Samuel, nobody. That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and that's not even to mention the, Fangio aspect of Jalen Ramsey and all that. So, you get past that, then you still have to make it work, and there's all the reasons that you just made. There's not a whole lot for what I'm buying into there. I will say also, we got some comments and questions and thoughts on this as far as the salary cap goes. Somewhere around 30 million, I believe.
It's around.
I was looking it up, maybe a little bit below, but about 30 million in cap space.
Yeah.
We just have to remember, because I've also gotten this question. I think there was a comment earlier, maybe from Daniel, saying like, hey, what are we doing with the cap space? You don't have to use it. And I think that it's the luxury of what we've talked about on a number of shows of like, they can carry it over to next year. So worst case scenario, Kelee Ringo pans out. All the guys that you have on the roster right now, minus, maybe a small move or two, pan out, and you just roll that over into the next season, which you're going to spend. Jalen Carter is going to take up a large amount of that cap space. But you could save it. If you want, potentially you get into a situation where at training camp, I mean, fingers crossed, knock on wood, we don't have that, but you have an injury, you do need to make a trade. Okay, you have some flexibility there, or even the trade deadline. You're making a run, you need somebody, you need some depth to trade and make a move, then okay. But ultimately, it's a fantastic spot to be in because we're not like, oh, we got $30 million and there's these, ideal pass rusher. We have a huge hole that we have to fill. We have to go make a position. Okay, if something kind of falls into your lap, sure, you take it. Otherwise, we roll that thing on to next year and you're good. We're golden.
And I think that leads well into minicamp overall and kind of where we're at here, like we said, 4 weeks and a couple of days from the start of training camp. And, Philly's one of those, they're one of the organizations that has one minicamp. They don't allow people to watch most of their practices, OTA practices. They did allow people at minicamp. They don't let you film after the drills are done. They're very tight about what gets in and what gets out. The Cleveland Browns, for instance, mentioned them, and as you said earlier, August 13th, they're going to do joint practices, one joint practice at the NovaCare Complex. You can watch every single throw that Shedeur Sanders made during 11-on-11s. Every single practice this offseason if you were a Browns fan. You can't do it in Philadelphia. It's just a difference in organizations. We,
unfortunately,
as content creators, are bummed, but, whatever. It's fine. And so we don't have necessarily footage. We talked about this on our show from minicamp, but there have been names that have popped up that have been impressive so far, Josh. And I think the name that continues to kind of rattle around in my head right now is Josh Uche. When Lane Johnson goes to the podium and is asked by a reporter, give us an edge rusher. And the first edge rusher out of his mouth is Josh Uche. That's like the honest take. It's like, okay, first thing that comes to mind is Josh Uche. And then he mentioned everybody else, and I'm sure Ojulari's doing stuff. Obviously, he mentions Nolan, and we all know Jalyx Hunt's going to go crazy this year.
Mm-hmm.
But Josh Uche, it's like, what happens if he's good? I can't stop thinking about this idea of what happens if either him or Ojulari are actually good this year. If they are, I don't know how. I just don't know how you're going to block this defensive front because they're getting one-on-ones every single snap. They never ever will an Eagle edge rusher be double teamed as long as Jalen Carter's on the football field. We know Moro Jomo was like the big dark horse in the entire league to break out this coming season. But when I keep hearing that Josh Uche is like, whoa, I don't know. It just gets me so excited because the whole thought process was like, well, you lost pass rushers in free agency, and there goes Milton Williams. They're going to take a step back. This defensive line might be way better than last year. And sacks were kind of a thing where we were comparing to the 2022 team, and it was like, oh, wow, they're way below on sacks. They don't have the Hassan Reddick type superstar. It could be really scary for the rest of the National Football League if they hit on another pass rusher and they pay him like $4 million this year. That, to me, was my first big takeaway from minicamp was like, holy cow, this could be really scary if one of those guys hits.
Yeah, it would be very scary, quite honestly, because you look at it and say, sack numbers, I think they were like 12th or 13th in the league, but then the pressure percentage, they were 28th. So they didn't generate. They were very efficient, but that also tells you like if there was a regression to the mean based on those same numbers, you wouldn't have the same amount of sacks. Like they were getting sacks at a very good clip, but not creating as many pressures as what you would expect, And so hopefully both those numbers kind of increase, or you're at least able to fluster the quarterback. Now, we saw that take off in the playoffs, so there wasn't as many concerns because you started having that in the playoffs. You had it in the Super Bowl, obviously, with the 6 sacks on Mahomes. But I'm with you there, and I think that Uche's given Lane fits back even going up against the Patriots. Like, Lane has had some issues with Josh Uche, so I think that's also kind of continued effort of like, okay, Lane's noticed his game. He's realized it when he was playing against him and on a different team, and so now it's also the recognition of, yeah, we're battling in practice, and this is that same dude. Now, I think everybody understands that Uche did not do well with the Chiefs. He was also their version of a Bryce Huff, albeit a lot cheaper, but he was a healthy scratch in the Super Bowl, so that's not, a good omen anytime that you're doing that. But the fact that he's actually been signed for an incredibly cheap deal, has an opportunity, they've talked about it in the room with just about everybody, but there's a chance for him to make a move, get a big contract. I mean, if he has, 6, 7 sacks, something like that, I mean, he could jumpstart his career, get a new contract, and also make a big name. So multiple ways there.
It's just going to be fascinating. I think it's going to be very, very interesting. Sorry, I was getting a DM from somebody talking about the Eagles, but I'll answer that one in a second. Can we talk about AJ Dillon for a second, Josh? I don't know if you saw my video today, but I did this kind of deep dive on Saquon and the running game, and AJ Dillon was another guy who, you hear the rumblings like he just looks good, right? He just looks healthy, and you go, okay, what does that mean though? And then you start to think about A.J. Dillon in this offense. And I did this whole deep dive on Saquon Barkley because I had a subscriber, and I want to make sure I shout him out because I don't know if he DM'd you as well. It was Dylan Chapman. Did he send you this website where he broke down 2,000-yard rushers in the season after? I don't know if you got that.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think I got it, actually. No.
He basically, I got this DM from Dylan. He said for a recent job interview, he had to do a data analytics project, and he put together what happened after the previous 8 2,000-yard rushers had their 2,000-yard season. What was it like the following season? And he did this awesome thing I'm going to put in the chat right now. It's a really great website. And so deep dive. And basically the simple answer was, if you don't want to read the whole article, which you should, every single rusher who hit 2,000, except for Barry Sanders in 98, essentially had a big drop. Now, Barry Sanders had a small drop. He had 1,500 yards the following season, but most of them got injured. Most of them saw a dramatic drop in their carries, and most of them went from like this superstar all-world back to coming back down to earth. A lot of it was injuries, but still. And so you start thinking about Saquon Barkley, and he was, during OTAs and minicamp, talking about keeping his body healthy. And I think that's going to be a big focus for Philadelphia heading into this season. Not using him way less, Josh. He had 380-some carries or whatever it was. But using him a little bit less enough to make sure the wear and tear is not there, to make sure you have him and can use him whenever you need him. And I think A.J. Dillon could really be that kind of change of pace, LeGarrette Blount type running back that we had for so short. It was like this one season in 2017 where you had this absolute bruiser of a running back who still had some open field and open space abilities, and he was incredible. I love LeGarrette Blount, and they've never been able to recreate it. And Rashad Penny seemed like their last attempt to get this kind of washed up big back, and we were both big Rashad Penny fans. Go back and watch the tape because we were all in on him, and it didn't really work out. It feels like A.J. Dillon might be the guy to actually work out this year. And it's not to take a ton of snaps away from Saquon, but maybe more than they gave Kenny Gainwell, this past year. I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I've kind of gone back and forth on that because I also did a little bit, not of a deep dive of the analytics on it necessarily as much, but more so everybody's got their 53-man roster projections, who's going to be on the team, who's the bubble candidate to get cut and everything else. And I do find it interesting whenever we take a look at the beat writers who are in the building a lot more than everybody else, gets to see things. As you mentioned, really nothing gets to be filmed, but they see it, so they can report on it at least. So from another person's viewpoint there, and there were multiple beat writers who actually had A.J. Dillon as a cut candidate. And I was surprised by that, which is why, I made the video and I was like, here's projections, potentials. On my first 53-man projection, I still had him making it, but it was just strange to see a couple beat writers going like, oh yeah, hey, A.J. Dillon might not even make the roster. And so I don't know. The more that I look at it here, I'm saying Will Shipley to me is still RB2. I think that he's going to be very involved, or much more involved than he was last year, but I think you saw him get some, spell Saquon, a few plays. My expectation would be seeing him get involved more in the receiving game. But I really want to see early on, and what I'll be watching for quite a bit, certainly in the preseason, is Will Shipley's pass blocking. Because if he has issues there, A.J. Dillon can pass block. Now, we know Saquon can, so there's no issues there. But A.J. Dillon, if you need to know, or if you don't know this already, A.J. Dillon can pass block very well. So for a running back, if Will Shipley starts to struggle there, then all of a sudden I would see absolutely that A.J. Dillon gets a little bit of a bigger role. They can trust A.J. Dillon to put him on the field to block for Jalen. But if not, if Will Shipley can handle and hold his own, then I kind of think that it'll be a fairly clear, like A.J. Dillon's the third, and then Will Shipley is the RB2, because they still have a lot of hype and praise for Will Shipley. But that is the question mark, because he just didn't have as many opportunities last year. So we'll see.
Well, and Will Shipley was mentioned during OTAs as someone that they threw the football a lot to. He was really good at Clemson, catching the football out of the backfield. A.J. Dillon also, surprisingly, pretty good catching the football out of the backfield. And we know Saquon is. They just didn't throw a lot to him this past season. It's an interesting trio of running backs. It really is. And it's crazy because, 99% of our focus is on Saquon. But, I mean, if you just have scenarios where you can, one less linebacker in the hole and pass protection that he has to absorb that hit, and one less 3rd down and 1 run where he has to absorb all that contact. And you just keep him a little healthier. I mean, the saying the sky's the limit's dumb, because we saw what the sky was last year, and it was like, is it going to be better than what it was? I mean, probably not, but how much worse? Whatever.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
if he's just healthy and good to go, you saw what he could do in the postseason, and I don't know, it's exciting. It's just, it's so crazy to me that we're at this point as Eagle fans where anywhere you want to go on the roster right now, Josh, we could talk about players in backup roles who are super exciting. I mean, literally, like, you could roll a dice and be like, let's talk about defensive tackle. Moro Jomo, I mean, he's got to be like the dark horse breakout defensive player in the NFL. Not on the Eagles, in the NFL. Linebacker. Everyone says Jihaad Campbell looks pretty darn good. Smael Mondon, I think, had a pretty darn good OTA period where people were like, oh, this is why he was a starter at UGA. Those UGA starters on defense, they kind of know what they're doing, especially at linebacker, Nakobe Dean. And so,
I'm just saying.
I mean, just go through the list. You did a video today on Terrence Marshall Jr. How about Terrence Marshall Jr. having himself a very impressive OTA and minicamp period? I thought the guy would get number 46, which is weird to see, by the way. It's like, okay, who is this? I thought he would be a cut guy, like, day one of cuts. It's like, there's no way Terrence Marshall Jr., this, second-round pickup out of LSU, he's never made it anywhere in the league. He couldn't make it in Carolina. He's not going to make it here. Right now, he's on the roster. Now, maybe he goes to practice squad, potentially. But I think right now he would be wide receiver 5. I think they'd keep Johnny Wilson, and then they would keep him, because Wilson would be 4. And then, of course, that leaves, what do you do with the rest of the guys? Because there's, 13 wide receivers in the roster right now.
Right, yeah.
But it's fun. It's really fun to go through this, because I think if you were to watch the You and Me version on the Jacksonville Jaguars, or the You and Me version on, insert your AFC team here, or NFC team, we wouldn't get to have this much fun with backup players and this excited, because this roster is pretty stacked.
It's not too bad. Returning 10 of 11 starters on offense already, kind of helps, because then it's like, oh, hey, everybody else that you add or you bring in is just the backups, of course. But yeah, I'm excited about the potential. Terrace Marshall starting to get starting to make some plays. As you mentioned too in the video that I had to include Jalen Hurts' comment, because he doesn't give a lot of praise to very many people. So much like, we say, okay, hey, Lane Johnson calling out Josh Uche, Vic Fangio. Like, to me, Jalen Hurts' pressers are very much like Vic Fangio in the sense that if he calls out a player, like, the ears need to be perked up there, because he does not call him out very. It's like, I mean, name anyone, and he's hard like, yeah, pretty good. Like that, it's like very, very basic. But for him to specifically say, yeah, we've had some guys, Terrace Marshall, and then he paused for a second and says, made a few really big plays for us. It's like, hang on. This is OTA, so you don't have to just be like, made a few really big plays for us. But for him to say that about Terrace Marshall, I'm like, okay, hey, that's actually getting some praise. Smitty knows him from all the way back in high school, played 7-on-7. So there's some relationships there. And then it was also interesting because I had to include Danny Gray. And I'm kind of like, I think those are very close in terms of their competition in making the roster. But I thought it was fascinating that Danny Gray was the go-to guy all of last year, or the latter part of last year for scout team of he's going to be wide receiver 1. So like Quinyon Mitchell, Darius Slay, Cooper DeJean getting the reps against the best team's receiver. Gray was the one that was watching film and trying to mimic those receivers to help the corners. And then he also went on record, Danny Gray did, and said, if I had been there at the starting training camp, I would have been on the 53-man roster. There's no doubt in his mind. So now, again, it's a receiver. We know that a lot of those have the attitudes of a diva and the confidence and maybe sometimes too much. But I don't mind that for a receiver like that. But for him to have that confidence, and he has been playing really well so far, or showing really well, minded all in OTAs, I think that, there's a case to be made. Like, does Aniyah Smith, he's been working out with AJ. He's been, trying to glean some from that. Does he have an opportunity there? That's going to be a competition. Johnny Wilson has not. I mean, Anthony DeBona, he did the breakdown on the stock up, stock down, but Johnny missed a few practices. He didn't have the best showing. Had a couple drops earlier this season too, as well. So I don't know. It'll be very interesting. It's like you have AJ, Smitty, Jihaad are obvious, but then after that, I mean, you could kind of take your pick. If are you going to take 4 receivers? Is it going to be 5? Who are those guys going to be? It'll be fascinating to watch, because you could go so many different directions.
I totally agree. And it does feel like Johnny Wilson is going to get it just because of his blocking. Like that kind of feels like a lock. Obviously, he has to take the next step and being a real pass catcher and a real threat. Virtually was non-existent last year, but they liked him so much, especially with 2 wide receiver sets when they were going to run the football out of the pistol with multiple tight end looks. Wilson was kind of their guy, and they really, really liked him on the outside blocking. And there's a couple of, forget which games, but he had some incredible blocks where you're like, oh, that's why he remains on the active 53. It's not for his catching ability, not that you needed it with the rest of the receivers, but he seems like a lock unless he has a terrible camp. And then it's, 7, 8 guys fighting for one because they're going to have 5 wide receivers active spot. And then they'll probably keep 3 maybe on the practice squad and kind of do the Covey thing where they bring you up and put you back down and bring you up, put you back down. And so, I don't know. It's pretty darn exciting overall. But, we talk about names that are getting hype here and there, then those are some other ones to go ahead and keep an eye on. I think the name that has gotten the most hype, Josh, I think it's probably Jalyx Hunt. I think everyone is raving that Jalyx Hunt is about to just go nuclear. And it might even be faster than what Nolan Smith did, because truly Nolan Smith was, like most of the young defenders, really picking up towards the latter part of the year. He had some plays. You go back to, let's say, the Giant game was week 5 or 6, and he had a nice sack in that game. He was disruptive. But Nolan Smith became like the edge rusher, especially in the postseason. And the idea that Jalyx Hunt could become that level or around that level, we'll see, week 1 is also very exciting, because everyone keeps saying he looks bigger, he looks faster, he looks smarter. And for as much as he was like, give me a crash course in edge rusher, 101, year 1, he's in like a 400 or 4,000 level class now. He's like learning all the techniques. He wants to have his own move. He wants to make sure his bull rush is good and his swim move is powerful and his spin move is, just right. He could be in for a really impressive 2025 season. And again, we're talking about people that really been standing out so far during minicamp and OTAs, and Jalyx Hunt probably is number 1 on that list of like, yeah, this guy looks really, really good and way better than he was.
I would agree with that. Yes. And getting to meet him in person as well, like sometimes
Great guy.
Kind of like, okay, are they, you're like prototypical defensive end, edge / outside linebacker, wherever you want to quantify that. But Jalyx Hunt does fit that mold. So, and it's also very impressive by the fact that he was a safety. Like, that's the thing that I have to remind myself, because even meeting him in person, we'd had him on the channel, of course, and do the interviews, but like meet someone in person and go, this dude 2 years ago was playing safety. Like that was crazy to me. I'm going
still
like,
unbelievable.
He is not a safety anymore. I mean, he is a full-grown NFL edge, and to be able to make plays. Got the, we say air quote sack, but against Lane Johnson. I think he also had one against Jordan Mailata in OTA. So I am right there with you. I'm excited to see how many snaps. I'm interested maybe more so to see how many snaps he gets, because I think he's going to end up starting. But I'm just curious, is it like, okay, he's the designated starter, but he's going to rotate a lot with Ojulari and Uche, and so it's more so kind of a full-blown rotation? Or is it, hey, Jalyx, Nolan, you guys are getting 45 snaps, somewhere around there, and then there's about 20 left that's split between, whoever's going to be rotating in. So we'll see, but I wouldn't be surprised at all. Have a lot of sacks, a lot of numbers there. There's a reason that Anthony DeBono called him out from before the Eagles even drafted him, and he has literally a wall. He actually sent me a picture of this. He has a wall of Jalyx Hunt rookie cards of like the full set of rookie cards.
Hold on
that
to
he
them.
Gotten before. So, I mean, hey,
10, 15 years.
Never know.
Hey.
Just saying.
Hey.
It could be very valuable to have those. Garrett with a 20 bomb. Hey, guys.
Whoa.
What's up, Garrett? Appreciate that. Says, finally got my first tickets to a home game in Philly, or a home Philly game.
Which one?
Going to see the Lions game in November. I'm from Wyoming and never been to Philly. Are us Eagles fans as crazy as they say? LOL. And any advice for Garrett on a first-time game?
I think you picked a good one there. I mean, Detroit is kind of like the new Saints, because remember the Saints back in 2017? It was like, what if we would have done it? It's been Detroit this past season. I mean, really, Amon-Ra St. Brown on his podcast, which, everyone has a podcast these days, basically was like, oh, we get Philly. We would have gotten Philly. Of course, they couldn't beat the Commanders, and then we dropped 55 on the Commanders, and so, math doesn't work. But that's a good one to go to. And yes, I will say this. Philly is, especially this stadium, it lives up to the hype. And this is from somebody who Didn't grow up in Philadelphia, which I'm obviously open about. Dad was military, moved all over the place. Became an Eagle fan at very young. And I didn't get to go to my first Eagle game until I was end of high school into college, because I was always living in Texas or I was living in Florida because we were moving around. And so I went to Eagle games, away games, but going to an actual Lincoln Financial Field game for the first time, I actually played the Saints, and it was Drew Brees, and we won. But when you go to a night game at the Linc, Josh, and I've been to a couple now, including playoff games, the night games are they're totally different. And it's not like they're way better, as if day games are really bad, because they're all fantastic. The night games, though, like walking into the stadium, it's already dark, and then the lights go out and the pregame hype, it's as good as it gets. And because it's Detroit, that's going to be even more exciting, because I think Eagle fans are going to go really crazy just to make sure to show Detroit, like, hey, you're not on our overall level. And I don't know if Detroit's going to be. Detroit has massive question marks. Talk about a team that kind of had their window and lost in the second half against San Francisco 2 years ago, and they haven't quite been able to get back. They lost all their coordinators, and Aiden Hutchinson's leg is like a big question mark. So it might not even be like an undefeated or a really, really good Lion team, but it'll be nice to kind of put them down and, show them once and for all who's boss.
Yes, it absolutely would, because you've got, it's like threefold. Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown making the comments that he did. Penei Sewell winning the first team All-Pro, which he shouldn't have. Lane Johnson should have. But there's the extra motivation from Lane from last year. Whenever he put it up on his locker with the stat comparisons and everything there. So extra motivation to show him, be like, all right, hey. And also, the Lions were putting together it was like I forgot what they call it. It was like a travel like package, like a travel package to buy and go to take over the Linc. I think they called it that. I think it was called like take over the Linc. It's like, okay, good luck. We know how this goes. It's so many different games where like teams like, hey, we're gonna go take over the Linc. The Commanders said they're gonna do that as well for the playoff game, and you saw that happen. They did take over a Hard Rock, so good for them. They owned the Hard Rock, but not the Linc.
The Hard Rock Cafe. Yeah.
But I agree totally. 100%. It does not get any better than going to a game of the Linc. My first one was the NFC Championship game against the Niners a few years ago. So that was it's a very high bar that was set. But
pretty high bar.
Even the regular season, I mean, going and seeing the game against Miami was legit. Going and seeing
night game.
Night game. Going to see night game. The Commanders last year. That one was legit.
In a box?
In a suite?
Yes. Shout out Ron.
Yeah, of course. Shout out to Ron. That was a blast. Also, NFC Championship game. Again, the Commanders. So, which we have to keep up. If we make another NFC Championship game, we host it. Obviously, we're good luck because we're undefeated on the NFC Championship games.
Never lost.
So
never lost.
It's our cross to bear. But yeah, it doesn't get better than a game of the Linc. Nothing else that I could say differently than what Thomas did. So get there early. I would say, like, for me, take part in all of it. Like, you could go tailgate tons of different places. You could ask people in the chat comment section, but you could go all over and just get a taste of just about any type of cuisine that you want, and live it up, because it's a fun time. So that should be a good game. I'm gonna be going. The only one that I have so far is the road game in Lambeau. So,
yep.
Don't know about.
I'm a little busy for that one. I will not be.
I don't know why. I don't know. I'm not sure why for that one.
There's something going on. Yeah, I gotta tell people why. I don't know why we haven't. I don't know how we're gonna do that on the channel, but I don't know if we're gonna do it right now. But I will not be there. I'll be there in spirit.
It's not my whenever you want to, feel free. Mr. Manu,
I'm ready.
Mr. Manu, with a 2 says Dak only has 2 playoff wins in 9 years. Dallas sucks.
Yeah, but did you see that ESPN was having a whole segment? Was it 2 days ago on Dak Prescott's legacy, which is how you know that you're like full on into the offseason, even though like the NBA playoffs are going on, so you're wondering why they're doing that. But yeah, Dak moves the needle. A lot of debate with Cowboy fans the past couple of weeks. George Pickens. I was talking to people last night about George Pickens. What does he do?
Yeah.
I think George Pickens is a very good receiver. But is George Pickens, when he doesn't get the ball thrown his way, or Dak has one of his vintage, 2-pick really bad games, is he still going to be ready to rock? Because listen, Dallas's roster overall was pretty good, right? I think it's pretty good. 2 good receivers. They don't have a running back, but, offensive line, they've invested heavily in that. I think they're going to be okay there. They still have Micah Parsons, who's fantastic. Trayvon Diggs, often injured, but still pretty good. They have a nice young defense. I think that they're good. Dallas could easily be a wild card team. They're not going to be a 12-win football team. 9, 10, depending on how their schedule looks. And I think they have some cupcake games mixed in there as well. But Dallas is nowhere near on the level of Philadelphia. And you just know that because it's Dallas with a rookie coach who was seemingly like their last option because no one else wanted to go there, it could really unravel pretty quickly. And George Pickens could, just be the match that lights that tinderbox completely on fire. So, hey, I mean, I'm excited to watch that. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I think Pickens is good. It's just a matter of, like, does Pickens make them a Super Bowl team? No. Does he make them NFC East champs? No. It's
No,
like...
probably not.
What does he make them? He makes them better.
Better,
but does he make them...
You're right.
Scary? No.
Well, and the other question too, and I can't remember who was bringing this up initially, but it was right. It was like as soon as they got him, like I don't know, the day after. But you have to think about the fact that like the combination, and this was a little bit later in Dez Bryant's career. So yeah, you could make an argument there, but still, it wasn't like when he was fully gone or just didn't have any ability. The Dak and Dez connection did not work very well. Now, it worked with Romo because Romo was willing to throw it, but Dez was not a, like, create space, get open type of guy. Pickens is a little bit better at that, but really the big offset for George Pickens is, like, just throw him the ball. Like, he's going to win those 50-50 balls. The issue is that Dak does not do that with his receivers very often at all. So, like, to your point there, does Pickens get upset and frustrated to be like, bro, I'm open? Like, you may think I'm not open, but I am open.
Probably.
Throw me the football. And
Probably.
if he doesn't, then all of a sudden we might see a little bit of sideline, tantrums. And we'll certainly be here for it. So we'll see.
Ready to go.
Forward to that
By
one.
the way, quickly, Cowboys schedule. This is why it's going to be interesting early. Obviously at Philly. Then overall, it's going to be New York, Chicago, Green Bay, Jets, Carolina. I mean, it is the most cupcake 5 weeks after us on week 1. And that's like Washington and Denver. Okay. Arizona, Las Vegas. And you're like, oh my gosh. And those are both, Monday night games, by the way, because you got to watch Arizona and the Cowboys because for whatever reason. Then Philly, Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota. Those are tough. Chargers, Washington, New York. They have a very easy schedule early on. It could very easily be that Dallas is very much overhyped. They're 6-1 or, they're 5-2. But are they actually good? And then we'll have that debate all season long, and then they'll get killed the final 4 weeks or get murdered in the playoffs, and then it'll be, all over again. So, but it's very easy early. As hard as ours is, theirs is like 50x easier the first 6 weeks.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, judging based on what, because, I know things can change. So people are like, well, hey, hold on. We don't know about that. It's true, but there's some teams there that it's kind of like, it's right. Probably a foregone conclusion. Sure. But I'm with
you. The Jets going to be a playoff team this year? The Raiders are better. Are the Raiders going to be, a 12-win football team? No. Cardinals, the Cardinals are perennial, like, win a game here, lose a game there. They're not going to do much this
It'd
year.
Be nice
it's an easy
if they
schedule.
could, but we'll see.
It would be, but probably not.
Philly with 10 Philly Special Show memberships. Appreciate that. Thank you. Congratulations to 10 individuals. And then also following that up with a 20 bomb. Appreciate that. Says, my bro won the helmet and my nephew is ecstatic. Paying it forward. Go Birds, by the way, will be at the October Giants game. Let's go. Okay.
Also a good one.
Philly,
Wait a second, Josh. Go ahead. Sorry, finish.
Well, I was going to say, I don't, because all I see is Philly, so I don't know the name. And the helmet, I'm assuming it's going to end up being Wolfgang is your bro. So... Mm-hmm. Shout out to you and your nephew. That's awesome. I need to respond, by the way. I got the email, but yes, appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I was just saying that people always tell us that we don't actually give these things away, that we fake them, and that we never actually do giveaways. So that must be like a bot account that you programmed to see that to make it look like you gave it to somebody.
And donating $20 to myself. So
that's what you did. Sneaky.
So we'll be able to get those.
It's just like how I'm going to give away this signed Kyle Schwarber bat at 97,000 subs, which is coming up. But actually, I'm not because I don't actually give anything away. Wink, wink. And so I'm just going to keep this.
Keep it by the front door to keep intruders out.
The front door. That's right. It's be like signed Kyle Schwarber, and you're going to get it, really good. I do swing this thing in my room like every single day, so it's very fun. But no, we do give all the stuff that we say away. And people get it, and they're very excited about it, and it's all real. And the problem is that we have so many people now watching the show that, your odds of winning are low, but not impossible. That's why you should be subscribed. But
it's true.
Definitely
yes.
a chance. So
shout out
we
to George.
do the giveaways.
That's why.
Yes.
And if people send us, like email or screenshots or whatever, or pictures of themselves getting the gear, then I usually try to include it in
That
the
would
show.
be
Which
nice.
today I included George. Shout out to you, George, if you're watching, because he got his
George is
Cooper
fake.
Jeans signed jersey. And so I
Yes.
included it there. The crazy thing was that it literally took like 3 or 4 months because it was one of the Super Bowl patch ones that was all back ordered for
yes.
Cooper Jean
Takes
because
forever.
after what he did in the Super Bowl, it was like the most sold jersey out there. So it took a while, but George finally got it. So
He got it.
good for you. But yes, I will get back to assuming that's Wolfgang, but I've got the emails from the others for the giveaways. So.
Yeah, unless he just thinks that he won and he actually didn't, which I
That's
guess
true.
can happen,
I mean,
so.
we'll
Watch out for
verify and
scammers.
confirm. But Will Berger with the 100 bomb. Let's go.
Really?
Big one on a
Jeez.
Wednesday Link in the
Okay.
off season. Let's go.
Itching for
Come
football
on
stuff.
now.
I'm telling you, I'm with you. It's like, I just
The-
can't wait.
The MVP. Let's go. Says, hey, just wanted to say y'all do amazing work and have blessed so many with your giveaways. So thank you.
There you go, which means that
once
they must
again.
be real. Must be real.
Hey, very much
Never know.
appreciate that. The
We
100 bomb.
appreciate that. Big
In the
time.
middle of the week. Let's go. You guys, we've said it a million times, but seriously, you guys make it possible. Can't happen without you guys.
Yep.
Try to make the thing what it is. Continue to make it better. We got some exciting things planned for the live stream. Well, we've got the live stream here, but the game streams.
Mhm.
So it's already been fun. The game should be even more interactive. We don't have any specifics that we can share or show yet, but
Sure,
just say
sure.
that it's always in the works, always in our mind, and it'll be fun. So I'm looking forward to that. But again, it's a blast hanging out with everybody, and can't do it without y'all. Let's see. Rich with a 2. Josh Link with Jacob. Breakoff? I don't understand that.
I have no idea what those words mean.
Josh Link with Jacob. It's spelled like Jacob, like sports. Josh Link with Jacob. Breakoff.
We've been on Jacob Sports before. I don't know what
We
break-off
ha-
means, but
Yeah, I
we've
don't-
been
I
on
don't-
Jacob Sports.
I'm not sure.
Unsure.
Okay.
Let us
Rich,
know.
appreciate the support there. I
Yeah.
think I don't actually know. Maybe there was a word left out. I'm not sure. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Well, yeah, Philly natives say Jacob is another show. I know what it is. I don't know what that
Yeah.
break off. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know what the break-off means. I don't think
Okay.
they have a show that's called the break-off either, so unsure. But
There you go.
yeah, we go on there with our buddy Xander. Xander has us on the morning
Yeah,
show with John McMullen, and we chatted up famously. My most famous hit on Jacob Sports was this time last year, and they were asking me about the acquisition of Saquon Barkley, and John said he was going to be a glorified Miles Sanders, and I called him out. I said I don't think so, and one of us was correct. You never know; he could have been right, but in the end, it was nice to. It was nice to see. By the way, Connor says, how come I can't see the super chats in the chat? It's Connor. It's because we're live on both of our channels. So there's 600 people watching. Half pretty much are on mine. Half are on Josh's. And so super chats only go based on who you super chat to. So
Yep.
if you don't see them on one chat, that means they went to the other chat. That's kind of how it goes.
And then
they are there.
We'll try to put them on the screen so at least you see them that way.
and
But
go
yeah,
on
they won't.
If they go on either one, we can put them on the screen. But the super chat only gets shown in the chat of the chat that the super chat was given in. That was confusing, but
Yeah.
you catch our drift. If someone wants to drop 100 bomb on my chat right now, I'll show you. Right? It'd be very simple. So
Yep.
don't do
Rich
that. It's the opposite.
commented back and said just link with Zebro. So I guess link with
Okay.
Xander. So I didn't know what
We
that
have.
last part was, but we have,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
With
We
Xander,
have.
we've communicated, got his contact info, been on the show,
cool.
like Thomas said. So
Yep.
let's see, there was another one. Oh, Wolfgang, I see that you're here. Yes, I will get back to you as well. I did see your email, so Wolfgang did win it. So for the super chat earlier, but you got
There you
it.
go.
CJ with a 2. Appreciate that. CJ says, just now tuning in. What all did I miss? Go Birds.
You missed us not getting Jaire Alexander. People are saying that I say it wrong. It's because I talk so fast. It sounds like I say Jaire. I just talk too fast, and I see your comments. I'm working on it. It's difficult. It's very hard.
There's some names too. Not that
Yes,
it's for this one,
Jaire.
but I have the issue or the
Yes.
question with Jihaad or Jihaad Campbell. Like I say it
Isn't it
quickly whenever I'm
Jihaad?
going. I thought it was Jihaad, but then some people were saying no, it's Jihad, and I'm like, I've heard both ways. Like speaking of Jacob, I've heard John McMullen call it Jihad or call him Jihad.
Okay.
But then I've
Well,
heard
I
others
said-
saying Jihaad. So
I said Jihaad to his face when he walked past at the NovaCare complex.
right,
So I'm
yeah.
sorry, Jihad, if I got that wrong. By
he
the way.
didn't
I was like,
correct us.
"Jihaad!"
He was kind of like,
He
hey,
didn't.
just real quick, just move on. But, like, he
didn't
felt
wanna
like,
talk to
get
us.
out of here. I'm not talking
Yeah.
to you guys. But, there's some of those names out there. So whether
Sure.
it's like moving quickly or I don't quite know. But,
Yes.
yeah,
Anyway,
no cornerback.
Alexander is going to the Ravens to be with his buddy, Lamar Jackson, on a very cheap deal. We talked about that. Kelee Ringo. And then we just went off on a bunch of names so far during OTAs and minicamp that have looked pretty good because that's all we have to go on until July 22nd, whenever they're going to officially report for training camp, which is still a month away, but it's going to go real quick, I think, because I kind of live my life one week at a time because, like, video-wise.
Yep.
So it's only 4 of those, and then we're there, and then we're good to go. So,
I am very hopeful. This is the point of the season. We've had a decent amount of news, like just enough to kind of, carry us over, tide us off, just like, okay, there's something. And now it's starting to feel like, okay, there's not as much. They've obviously broken until training camp. If we don't have any moves, it'll be a little bit less. But the content will still be cranked out, whether it's more analytical stuff, whether it's deep dives like you had on your show today, revisiting past instances and bringing up, questions or scenarios, all sorts of stuff. But we will still have the videos.
Which is why we appreciate you still watching us, because that helps us be able to feed our families during the off season. So even though there's not a ton of news, if you see a video go out, we'd appreciate you watching
the guilt trip.
That way
feed
our children,
families.
or Josh's children, I guess, because he has kids right now, can feed us his 2 little girls. Would be nice. So if not,
Very much appreciated.
So you gotta watch the shows.
Yes. So Wilberger, Philly, all you guys, thank you. Thank you for the super chats. No, seriously though, that was the big news. Like Thomas is saying, CJ, just the Jaire. We also went over some of the OTA takeaways. Guys making a name for themselves. Stock up, stock down. Wide receiver position. It looks like Terrace Marshall and Danny Gray in a better spot. Still a long way to go, but there's instances there. AJ Dillon, how's he going to get used? Opportunity. Will Shipley, kind of combination of those. We didn't really get into it a whole lot, but we're pretty close to wrap it up here. I guess very briefly, only to, I don't know, just very quickly mention it. Some people have been well, it always happens, but some people have really been hating on Jalen Hurts.
Who?
Recently.
Who's been doing that, Josh?
I'm not going to say who it is.
I haven't seen that. You're not going to say
it's, I mean,
oh man.
I know why. And so I sarcastically commented, and I love it too whenever some people have to like explain it to me as if they don't understand the sarcasm in my comment whenever I tweet it out.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's because this is, I understand it's ridiculous, but I understand why they do it and for the engagement and everything else. But it's like, come on. I mean, of all things, we've got a Super Bowl winning quarterback, a guy who has, you could try to criticize all that you want to, but when the lights are the brightest, he has played the best 2 straight times in the Super Bowl. I don't get there. There's the constant pull of like, oh, let's criticize Jalen Hurts again. Let's go right back to this thing. And he's proved people wrong. But I don't know. That's how I guess we're in the middle of the offseason.
You know you're going crazy when you see a little clip on Twitter today and you agreeing with ESP's take. That's how I knew I had gone nuts, because ESP was going after whatever the other host's name and was like, didn't he just win a Super Bowl? And they came back and said, yeah, but did you watch him weeks 5, 6, and 7? And the response was, but didn't he just win a Super Bowl? And you were like, oh my gosh, what are we doing right now? It's crazy. I will say this. Jalen Hurts has plenty of room to improve, obviously. And when Lamar Jackson exists and Joe Burrow exists and Josh Allen exists and you compare the 2 and the 3 and the 4, sure. I love how this is a gotcha question whenever I talk about Jalen Hurts. Even like in my personal life to friends who aren't Eagle fans, they'd say, yeah, but you take Josh Allen over Jalen Hurts, right? As if I'm supposed to like defend and be like, no, I wouldn't do that. Obviously, anybody in a complete non-biased vacuum of a world, when you offered me Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts, you take Josh Allen. 32 out of 32 GMs would do the exact same thing right now. But one of those 2 have won a Super Bowl. The other has not. One of those 2 has won multiple NFC, or I guess championship games. The other has not. There are tangible things where you can go, Jalen Hurts is much better. And one of those is winning big games. Josh Allen can't. Josh Allen can't beat Patrick Mahomes. All Jalen Hurts has done is outduel him and then beat him the other 2 times, one of which was a Super Bowl. And so this whole idea that just because Jalen Hurts is not Joe Burrow, that we have to have this 30-minute conversation about, oh, well, you're an idiot for liking Jalen Hurts. It's just not flying in Philadelphia anymore because he just won a Super Bowl. You can make this argument in 2021 where they were running like this kind of weird offense where it's basically him running and he threw a bunch of picks in the wild card game. You could do it in 2023 where he had a terrible last part of the season, had a horrible game against Tampa again in the wild card round, and people like myself wanted Sirianni gone. We were all questioning Jalen Hurts. Sure. But right after winning a Super Bowl, Josh, it's not the time to go on your airways or wherever your blogospheres and try and make some sort of argument convincing me that Jalen Hurts is actually not that good, because none of us are going to buy it, even if you're like a staunch Jalen Hurts hater, because again, Jalen Hurts has won a Super Bowl. The rest of these guys that you want to compare him to, proverbial you out there in the media world, they haven't. And it's just like, we don't really care anymore. It doesn't interest me, So what are you going to do? Guy won a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts could have a bad 2025, and guess what? He's still going to be the Eagles quarterback going into 2026, and I'm still going to put a ton of support behind him because he's proven it. He's done it. Most guys win 1 Super Bowl, and that's it for their careers. Aaron Rodgers can be a Hall of Famer, right? 1. Never made it back. Jalen's been to 2, won 1, and has a pretty good chance to go to another one here pretty soon. So we'll see. It's just
they got the opportunities, that's for sure. You take this roster, you take this group, this team. He makes the plays whenever it counts. There's something to be said for that. Sometimes I get it that it's too conservative, or it's like, oh, he's holding on to the ball, but he's not turning the football over. I think it was sometimes too much of we don't want to make a bad play. But again, when the season got later, we got into the playoffs. He needs to start throwing a little bit more. He did it. He had opportunities. The Chiefs gave it. They say, hey, beat us. Make them throw the ball. That was the viral clip. All the analysts, all the Chiefs, play-by-play announcer. Make them throw the ball. Okay, well, you did. Okay. Look what happened. So he was able to prove you wrong. But yeah, it'll be constant criticism.
Welcome to Philadelphia.
I will say, if you're looking for a number to take the over on Jalen Hurts on the passing yards. I think it's like 2,900 yards.
Really?
I like that. I mean, you think about like how low those numbers were last year. He was still like at 2,900 yards. So I mean, like, the teams have to, because they're 29th ranked passing offense last year. Now I know that was the whole concerted effort focused on trying to run the football and everything else, but still 29th passing offense. Teams are surely going to go into this saying like, look, I know that it burned the Chiefs. They got killed because they said, hey, Jalen's not going to beat us, or Jalen can beat us, but Saquon won't. And they got destroyed. But teams are still going to go in with that same strategy. The vast majority, they're going to say, look, we have to shut down Saquon. We will force Jalen to beat us. If they win that way, fine, we'll live with it. But that's where I'm kind of like, hey, look, you want to take a line, not the worst thing. You take a 29, or the touchdowns. I think touchdown passes are like 19 and a half. I mean, he only had 19 last year, but come on, he surely get up in the 20s. So
Saquon Barkley had 8 games, including the playoffs, of over 25 carries. And if we do go the math, a 2,000-yard rusher, it's going to come down a little bit. It is not 8 games. Those 25 carries got to go somewhere. Either go to A.J. Dillon, Will Shipley, or it's going to be Jalen Hurts through the air. And I would think it's a mixture of all of those, but Jalen Hurts through the air as well. So, by the way, shout out Andy DeBona in the chat. He says there are 4 quarterbacks I would rank ahead of Jalen Hurts: Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, and Jackson. And we all would agree. And that's the funny part, too. It's like everyone would agree with that. There's no debating that. It's like, okay, sure. And whenever people are trying to be like, but these guys are better. Like, all Eagle fans, Anthony's right there. Okay, we agree. But one of those has won a quarterback or won a Super Bowl, and the other 4 hasn't.
Right, yes. So it's like, somebody's saying Jackson and Allen. Jackson and Allen, I can see the arguments for them, but not Burrow.
I think Burrow's great. I think Burrow's on a really bad franchise. I think the Bengals are a poverty franchise, literally, and I think actually.
I mean,
he's really good.
He is really good, and I say this too. Like, I know he's got crazy good weapons as well, but I mean, I would be. I think there's a very strong argument to say that Burrow is the best quarterback in the NFL. Like, I think so. Numbers-wise, the way that he processes the game, throwing the football, which it makes it even that much more impressive how we shut him out last year or shut him down. But when he's on, I don't know if there's another quarterback that can place the football where he does and get those plays made. So
him and Allen are like Brady and Peyton were during their primes, because Brady won more, and obviously he's the greatest of all time. I would have taken prime Peyton as a quarterback overall. Like, I thought he was the best quarterback ever. Brady's the best quarterback ever because he won so much. It's very hard to differentiate those two. But I think Joe's a better quarterback than Josh Allen. But right now, Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the National Football League because all the things are combined, and he's won a lot more. I mean, at least recently. I know Burrow went to a Super Bowl, but that's neither here nor there. We're not going to talk about quarterbacks for the next hour.
Well, we've started an argument in the chat, so
I know. It's just funny.
Who's won what, who's done, everything else. But I'm with you. It's usually the difference of the argument of like Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady and all those stats there. So
Sure.
Yeah, feel free. Everybody carry on the argument or the everything else after this stream here. But I think we're
argue
wrapping
amongst
up
yourselves
on this. I think I got one more super chat here. Rich, as we're wrapping it up, says, what's more important than Super Bowl and football? So going back to the argument of, what's more important.
Being good week 5, 6, and 7, according to a radio station, apparently.
To some people,
That's more important.
Here's the thing. Jalen Hurts won the Eagles the Super Bowl, but he probably lost some people a fantasy football championship. And so to some people, maybe that's what they're going off of. Oh, Jalen Hurts is terrible. He's going to lose me this thing. But we'll take the Super Bowl. We got it.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Well, that was fun. Wednesday Linc on an actual time.
Good to be back.
So we've normally done kind of some earlier, missed it because of vacation, travel, everything else. But 7:30 Eastern, not too bad. Rolling through this thing. Appreciate you guys as always. Make sure to like and subscribe. Tons more giveaways, crazy stuff planned still, as we said.
Yep.
Training camp not till July 22nd or 23rd, but still more in the meantime. So appreciate you guys. More videos coming. Till next time, you know what it is. Go Birds.
Go Birds.